Chapter 11, Pointlessness and Boy Perfume. If you had a father who hadn't shown any emotion for 3 or 4 months, and then you stumbled upon him weeping as though someone had just shot Bambi right in front of his eyes, what would you do? Right. You would sneak away and never let on that you had seen anything. And that's what I did. I crept back into the basement like a highly skilled sneak thief, and then proceeded to listen to the most calming music I know, the Beatles. Somewhere between Revolution and Hey Jude, I fell asleep. When I awoke in a small puddle of my own drool on the ratty playroom carpet, and my left earphone seemingly welded to my head by the force of gravity, I looked like a Zillion symbol clock my parents once got me for a birthday. It was 11:45 p.m. I felt pretty sure of two things. Nobody had noticed that I was hidden away in the dark basement like a leper, and everyone would be asleep. And I went upstairs this time for a change. I was doubtfully right. In the kitchen, I couldn't help but notice that my dad's mysterious pile of depressing papers was just sitting there on the table in plain view. To see or not to see? That was the question. Well, for about a tenth of a second anyway, then I dove on the papers like Sherlock Holmes on a cappuccino binge. What I was looking at, I had turned my strong, silent dad into a sleepy mess, was a weeping mass of puddling, was a stack of bills, medical bills, Jeffrey's bills. The top sheet, which was written in my dad's handwriting, was the tally of total unpaid amount to date, $27,000. The total expense so far was unbelievable, definitely in the six-figure range. And not for the fact that my parents both had good health insurance, which I knew from overhearing some discussions about this stuff. We would already have blown the whole cost of college education in these 3 months. And I knew Jeffrey was going to need at least 3 years of treatment. And I figured I'd be attending the University of, would you like some fries with that? And there was no way either of us would have any college fund at the end of this. Then I had even more depressing thought. Jeffrey might not even be around long enough to go to college. Okay, so we were losing money hand over fist. My dad was crumbling like a day-old scone, and my brother might die. Really, what could I do about any of it? At the moment, only answer I could come up with was nothing. I went upstairs and got ready for bed, and a new obsessive slogan started running through my mind. It worked like this. Okay, I'll brush my teeth now, but Jeffrey might die, so what's the point? Time to wash my face, but mom's not working. Dad makes $40,000 a year after taxes, and there's $27,000 in unpaid bills downstairs. We're going to be homeless any minute, so what's the point? I should floss now too, but I didn't even brush, so what's the point? So I went to bed with a grimy face and a yuck-encrusted teeth, and then I just started, and it was just started my depressing what's the point period. The next day, I came back from a week of absence to a barrage of, oh my God, what's wrong with Jeffrey? Is your mom okay? How's your dad taking it? What were you sick? Oh, you can't imagine I didn't snack me out of my funk too well. Renee talked to me all through homeroom, which should have made me ecstatic, but I just kept thinking, soon I'll be leaving school and I'll live under the overpass, so what's the point of Renee liking me now? Also, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was realizing that she hadn't suddenly discovered that I was an actual human being type person because of a new attributes or I had developed. She was temporarily fascinated with me as a tragic figure. I still couldn't help going gaga over how beautiful she was, but I was almost mad at her because she wasn't noticing me for the right reasons. Annette was truly concerned about me, though. In Miss Palmer's class, she offered to come over after school a few days that week to catch me up on classwork in every subject we had together. That was pretty comforting because I didn't want to fail all my finals after a massive makeup effort I had done before the flu episode. And that always get A's in everything. There was one problem. My math period was Annette's piano period. So who would bail me out of math? I was tempted to say I was going to fail the hardest subject anyhow, so what's the point? I didn't, though. I was determined to pull all my grades through this so I wouldn't add to my parents' worries. In math class, I went to the teacher and told him I would need help if I wanted to learn the week the week of new material I had missed. I was torn between hoping he'd offer to meet me during my opportunity period and teach me the stuff himself, and being afraid that spending that much time with one-on-one with the math teacher would crack me completely and turn me into a deranged lunatic. Oh well, I figured, at least it'll be the life of an under the bridge party crowd then. The teacher did not offer to catch me up, though. Instead, he asked for a volunteer who was willing to tutor me at home. And I got one. Renee Albert. Holy cow. Renee Albert was coming to my house. Renee Albert was coming to my house. Even I couldn't think, what's the point of Renee Albert coming to my house with a straight face? I just said, wow, thanks, Renee. While every other guy in the class looked at me like I had a big target painted on my forehead. It was one of the best drum lesson days with Mr. Watras, and when I walked in, he handed me a crumpled tissue, pointed to the garbage can, and told me to show him my newfound hoop skills. I got it in, swish, and sat down at the drum set. It was a great feeling to be playing drums after more than a week away from them. And Mr. Watras must have understood because he just sat back and watched me burning around the kit at full speed for a couple of minutes. When I stopped, he surprised me by talking about my academic situation, which we had never discussed again after the ugly meeting I'd had with my teachers. So I hear you made up all your old work. Yeah. Do you have a plan for making up the work you missed last week and studying for finals? Yes, and that is going to tutor me in everything except math, and this other girl is going to help me with math. Great. Listen, Steve, I'm really glad you're back on track with the school stuff. We absolutely depend on you in all city, and I'm thrilled that we can keep you in the ensemble. Me too. But part of me was thinking, what's the point of practicing for this stupid concert when my brother might not live to see it? The week went by like this, with me going to school, my mom and Jeffrey coming and going between home and Philly, and Dad staring off into the space even more than he had been for months. I kept having those what's the point of blank moments, but plunged into life pretty consistently anyway. And Annette came by 3 times to help me study. You know what? She's an amazing tutor. I understood everything when she explained it and got hundreds on the social studies quiz and science lab thanks to her. There was an awkward moment when she first saw Jeffrey because it was the first time seeing him all bald and puffy, but she covered her shock well. And by the second night, she was playing board games with him every time she took a break while I did practice quizzes or writing assignments. He was happy with the attention, and I noticed something interesting. She was much more patient and honestly excited to play with him than I was. So Annette was the absolute perfect tutor pal, and I should have been kissing the ground beneath her feet, carrying her book bag to every school day, right? But even while I was getting so much from her, I couldn't stop thinking about next week when Renee would be coming over. On Thursday night of that week, Mom and Jeffrey left for a quick 2-day trip to Philly for blood counts and a couple of chemotherapy injections. The procedures were pretty routine by then, but the results weren't. Jeffrey's counts were really low, so low that the doctors gave him 2 transfusions, one of whole blood and one of platelets. This turned the 2-day trip into a 4-day trip. I heard my dad on the phone saying the hospital bills were running about $2,000 a night. So I knew our financial picture wasn't getting any rosier. Also, my mom had told me that Jeffrey would probably be even more vulnerable to germs in the foreseeable future. So I should be extra careful to avoid being near anyone who was sneezing or coughing, and to wash my hands when I walked into the house every day. I asked if I should just stay home and live in a plastic bubble with Jeffrey, and she warned me that might, in fact, have to stay out of school for a while if something like chickenpox started going around. So I was freaking out. On one hand, my head was a mess with tumbling worries, rising poverty, falling blood counts, alarming potential of quarantine. On the other hand, Renee was coming to my house. Tuesday was the big day. Midterm exams were a week away, so I needed Renee's help pretty big time. Also, I couldn't get past the excitement part of the deal. Renee, in my house. I mismatched for a drum session rehearsal. You really have to love the logic getting called out of math for band right before exams. And Renee wasn't on the bus on the way from school. So we didn't confirm that she would be coming over. But I assume the plan was for 7 p.m., which was what we had arranged the week before. I ate with my mom and Jeffrey at 6 o'clock. My dad was still in his office. It was the beginning of tax season, when accountants get busier and busier leading into April 15th. I figured we could use some extra income, so I was betting my dad would be really busy this year. Anyway, my mom noticed that I was being quieter than usual, and Jeffrey started in. He's saving up all his smooth talk for his big date with Renee Albert. It's not a date, nutball. She's just tutoring me in math. I bet you're going to kiss her, right? She has a boyfriend, Jeffrey. You know that. She's still going out with Biff, the guitar player. But she's coming over to play with you. She's not playing with me. She's teaching me about numbers and stuff. So when are you going to kiss her then? Mom, this kid is out of control. Can we get some tranquilizers or something? Maybe a padded cell upstairs? Then the mom got rolling. Steven, is there something going on between you and Renee? I noticed you dressed more neatly than usual. Your hair is even combed down. And he's wearing boy perfume, Mom. He wasn't wearing any last week when Annette came over, but for Renee, he is. It's called cologne, monkey boy. Since when do you wear cologne to learn math? Oh, my son is growing up right in front of my eyes. Maybe I should get out a video camera. Maybe you should tie me to a stake, douse me in kerosene, and torch me right in our front lawn. I won't need any kerosene, Stephen. I'm sure the cologne will light up pretty fast. Ha ha, Mom. Just then the doorbell rang. Please keep the lunatic away from us, Mom. We have work to do. Is kissing hard work or easy work, Stephen? Mom, remove him.